Ethics of AI Intelligence. Western Societal Division. PhantomTec Reports. Please read before commenting. This episode is not a defense of any government, military, corporation, or conflict. It's also not a call to protest, boycott, or pick sides. This is a discussion about how we think, not what we chant. We are examining how outrage-driven narratives, symbolic targeting, and emotionally coercive language are replacing systems-level understanding in an age of AI, war, and algorithmic amplification. When complexity is collapsed into slogans, discourse dies, and division grows. Empathy for civilians does not require abandoning logic. Caring about suffering does not mean suspending critical thought. And slowing down to think about serious issues is not moral failure, it's moral responsibility. If you disagree, engage with the ideas, not with labels. If you're here to shout slogans or demand alignment, this episode isn't for that. Let's keep this discussion grounded, proportional, and respectful, because the world is fractured enough already. PhantomTec Reports.
Welcome back, everybody. Just another Tech Phantom here, signing on to another episode of PhantomTec Reports. We need to talk calmly, clearly, and without yelling past each other, because something important is being lost in the noise right now, not just in the Gaza debate, not just in tech protests, but in how we as Western societies are thinking, reacting, and dividing ourselves in an age where AI, war, and outrage economies are colliding head-on. This episode is not a defense of any government, any military, or any corporation. It's also not a counter-protest. This is a pause button, a moment to step back and ask whether we're still thinking in systems or whether we've allowed emotional coercion to replace logic entirely. In an age of outrage, collapsing is that of discourse. We live in a time where moral outrage travels faster than understanding. Complex conflicts that involve decades of history, asymmetric warfare, terrorism, intelligence failures, and civilian suffering are being compressed into slogans, labels, and consumer actions that feel righteous but explain almost nothing. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Outrage feels productive, but it rarely is. When everything becomes a moral emergency, nuance gets framed as betrayal. When everything is framed as genocide, evil, or absolute guilt, discussion shuts down. People stop talking with each other and start signaling against each other. Alignment replaces reasoning. Tribalism replaces dialogue. That's not justice. That's fragmentation. One of the most dangerous shifts we're seeing isn't just misinformation, it's emotional coercion. Language is increasingly designed not to inform, but to force moral compliance. It's how language stops thinking. Words are chosen to create urgency, shame, and fear of being on the wrong side. You're told that silence is violence, hesitation is complicity, and questions are excuses. This framing doesn't invite understanding. It pressures obedience. But serious issues involving war, AI, and civilian lives demand slow thinking, not fast outrage. Thinking carefully is not a moral failure. In fact, it's a moral responsibility. This brings us to tech companies, protests, and boycotts, as symbols are easier to burn than systems are to fix. When people target brands like Microsoft or Xbox over cloud services and AI infrastructure, what they're really engaging in is symbolic action. It feels tangible. It feels clean. It gives people something to do that signals virtue. But symbols are not systems. Modern warfare, especially counterterrorism, is driven by intelligence pipelines, doctrine, decision hierarchies, and accountability structures. AI doesn't invent these systems, thus it accelerates them. Without AI-assisted analysis, the scale of modern data simply overwhelms human capacity, leading not to restraint, but to broader, blunter force. Boycotting a gaming console doesn't reform military doctrine. It doesn't create oversight. It doesn't reduce civilian harm by default. What it does is shift the conversation away from the hard, uncomfortable work of systems-level accountability. Burning symbols is emotionally satisfying. Fixing systems is intellectually demanding. So let's be honest about something most people avoid saying out loud. More specifically, let's discuss AI in warfare, probably the least bad tool in a bad reality. If a state is going to conduct counterterrorism operations at modern scale, it will use AI-assisted intelligence. The question is not whether AI should exist in warfare. It already does everywhere. The real question is how constrained it is. Ethical AI in warfare doesn't mean machines deciding who lives or dies. It means AI used as decision support, not decision authority. It means narrowing targets instead of expanding them. It means surfacing uncertainty instead of hiding it. It means slowing kill chains, not accelerating them. And it means human accountability never disappearing behind an algorithm. Without those constraints, AI becomes dangerous. With them, it can actually reduce indiscriminate harm compared to panic-driven or blind retaliation. This is not a comfortable truth, but ignoring it doesn't make it go away. The hypocrisy that nobody wants to address, and with what many people are sensing and struggling to articulate, is the selective application of outrage. Civilian tech enabling military operations is condemned in one conflict and ignored in another. Surveillance is framed as evil in one context and heroic in another. That inconsistency isn't accidental. It's the result of moral storytelling replacing ethical analysis. When outrage becomes performative, principles stop being universal. They become tribal. And once that happens, trust erodes, not just in institutions, but in each other. Why does this matter more than ever before? Well, this isn't just about Gaza. It's about the future of discourse in Western societies. If we allow emotional coercion to dominate public debate, we don't just lose nuance, we lose cohesion. Societies that can't discuss hard truths without collapsing into moral panic don't become more just. They become brittle, and brittle societies don't handle crises well. We are already living in a world edging toward dystopia. AI acceleration, economic pressure, geopolitical instability. We don't need to add internal fracture fueled by lazy moralization and outrage economies. We need proportionality. We need systems thinking. We need the courage to say, this is complicated, and rushing to certainty may do more harm than good. This episode isn't asking you to pick a side. It's asking you to resist being pushed into one without thinking. A callback to thinking per se. Empathy does not require intellectual surrender. Caring does not require abandoning logic. And justice does not come from silencing complexity. It comes from confronting it honestly. Before adopting beliefs that amplify division, ask what those beliefs actually change. Ask whether they reduce harm or simply redistribute outrage. Ask whether they fix systems or just burn symbols, because the future won't be shaped by who shouted the loudest. It will be shaped by who thought the clearest. And that's something still worth fighting for. Well, peeps, I'm just another Tech Phantom signing off from PhantomTec, so thanks for joining us and peace.